In this third part of video 22 about engine overhaul, we will discuss the weight of the pistons. This is one of the many measurements you will have to take before you can install the pistons with piston rings in the cylinders. Checking the weight of the pistons is necessary for both used and new parts. Before you weigh the pistons, make sure they are free of carbon deposits and oil residue. Watch video 21 to learn more about this. But first, let's look at why the weight of the pistons plays a role in the proper running of the engine. The pistons move inward with each stroke, and then back out again. This releases great forces. In a well-tuned engine, the rotating parts move smoothly without causing vibrations. The rotating parts that play a role in the stable running of the engine are the pistons with piston rings, the connecting rods with their piston pins, the crankshaft with its flywheel and its crankshaft pulley. All these parts must be well balanced if the engine is to run smoothly, without shocks or vibrations. To illustrate the importance of well-balanced rotating parts, we will use a fan. This model has several settings, allowing the rotation speed to be adjusted. At the highest setting, the rotation speed is 960 revolutions per minute. In position 3, the fan rotates at 800 revolutions per minute. In position 2, it rotates at 670 revolutions per minute, and in the lowest position, the rotation speed is 530 revolutions per minute. This fan rotates without any vibrations, even at its highest speed. To simulate an unbalanced motor, we place two weights of 5 grams each on one of the fan blades. 10 grams is a lot compared to the total weight of this construction, but it helps to make the effect clear. At the lowest speed, at 530 revolutions per minute, there are hardly any perceptible vibrations. However, do not underestimate what small vibrations can do to rotating parts. In this case, the lifespan of this fan will be drastically reduced. The bearings of the fan and the motor will be damaged in the long term by these small vibrations. The vibrations are transmitted to the chassis of the fan, and the whole thing tends to walk away. In the third speed, at 800 revolutions per minute, the fan vibrates on its feet. In the highest setting, the chassis jumps up and down and clearly goes its own way. If the chassis of the fan were to be attached to the workbench, the damage to the rotating parts would increase even more. In the case of our VW engine, the crankshaft bearings will have to absorb the greatest shocks. The bearings will show accelerated wear. Once the crankshaft bearings wear down, the clearances will no longer be correct, and everything will quickly go wrong. The pistons are part of the rotating part, so their mutual weight is very important. The VW workshop manual states how much the pistons should weigh. The table says that the weight of our pistons should be somewhere between 298 grams and 318 grams. The pistons may differ in weight by a maximum of 10 grams, which is the wear limit for used pistons. For a new set of pistons, the maximum difference is 5 grams. As we saw with the fan simulation, the problems with imbalance increase as the speed increases. A factory VW engine has a maximum speed of around 4,000 revolutions per minute. That is a relatively low speed, which is why the weight tolerances are not so strict. When dealing with higher revs, weight differences in the order of 0.1 grams are more the norm. However, In this video series, we will stick to the standard factory engine and the standard factory tolerances. Before you start weighing, check that all pistons are of the same weight class. The weight class is indicated by a letter on the piston crown. These pistons are all of weight class B. If different classes are used, there is a good chance that the weight of the pistons will differ. We will now weigh the pistons of our AB 1300 engine. We use a digital scale that can measure to within 1 gram. That is more than accurate enough for this application. We do not want to know the exact weight of the piston, but rather if there is a difference between the 4 pistons. The piston from cylinder 3 is 1 gram lighter than the first 2 pistons. The piston from cylinder 4 weighs just under 310 grams. We repeat the measurement to ensure that the scales are not off. These pistons have a maximum weight difference of 1 gram. That is well under the 10 grams required by the factory for a used engine. As we mentioned earlier, the higher the engine speed, the smaller the tolerances. Although the VW factory manual does not mention this, it is good practice to weigh the piston including its rings, the piston pin with retaining clips. This gives a more accurate picture of the weight of each piston. The piston pin will be discussed later in this series, when we are ready to study the connecting rods. The 4 pistons, with their associated parts, are barely 2 grams apart. As far as the weight of the pistons is concerned, we can conclude that they are still perfectly usable. What if the pistons are more than the permitted weight difference apart? In that case, you can remove material from the piston with a milling cutter. Where and how you can remove material will depend on the type of piston and its construction. Now that we have measured the end gap in part 1, the side clearance in part 2 and the weight of the pistons in this video, we have 2 more videos to go to confirm that our pistons and cylinders are suitable for assembly. In part 4 of this video, we will measure the clearance between the piston and the cylinder. More information about all the parts and tools used in this video series can be found as comments under each video on our YouTube channel. See you soon.